Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia, and I'm deeply honored and incredibly proud to be the CEO of America Needs You. And really, how often does a new CEO get to address such a large and attentive audience just 20 days into my job, right? But truly, I am filled with tremendous gratitude for the unwavering commitment that this community has demonstrated. You've been instrumental in helping ANY make a measurable difference in the fight for economic mobility for first-generation college students. And speaking of gratitude, surely I speak for many in this room by extending a very deep-seated and heartfelt appreciation to Hosea Harvey, who masterfully stepped into the role of acting CEO and led America Needs You for the past year. Hosea, thank you for your passion. Thank you for your dedication and for your leadership, not just as acting CEO, but you've served as general counsel since 2009. Thank you for being such a critical part of my journey. But most importantly, thank you for consistently voicing to our staff and to our stakeholders that this work matters. This work matters, so thank you. Thank you also to our board of directors, to the Gala Committee, and to the very talented staff, especially to Emily Ashton for planning this extraordinary evening. And thank you to the hundreds of volunteers who devote their time, their expertise, their resources towards building transformative mentoring relationships with our students who in turn gain intensive career development on the path towards achieving their personal and their professional success. Tonight, I'm also thrilled to congratulate Susan Reed. Thank you, Susan, and congratulations to you and to Morgan Stanley for exemplifying the very commitment to service that our fellows experience and the mentorship received from your colleagues, the firm's employees. Susan, your leadership at the Institute for Inclusion is nothing short of a valiant effort, really investing towards furthering the education and the success of young people. Thank you for engendering a culture of service, engagement, and generosity at Morgan Stanley that fosters a more equitable and inclusive workplace. And certainly, let's salute the brightest stars of the evening, our ANY alumni and fellows, especially those taking the stage. Alumni like Mary Caliste, whose ascent at Morgan Stanley is laudable. And students like Kritagria, who's with me at my table, and Laisha, whose stories of possibility, aspiration, tenacity, and promise inspire me, and it's a really good thing that I'm not following them in my remarks. But listening to their stories has allowed me to locate myself. Like them, I too was a first-generation college student, the first in my immediate family to attend college right here in New York City. And growing up in the Fordham section of the Bronx, I was told that education was the panacea that would unlock access and abound opportunities. I worked hard at school. I did all the right things. I did what was expected of me because I was determined to showcase my potential as a young Black woman. And I was committed to dissolving any notion of perceived cultural or language barriers stemming from my Latinidad and my Cuban roots. I was focused. And still, it wasn't enough. You see, 30 years ago at my college graduation, I stood at the intersection of 116th Street and Broadway. I looked to my left and I saw the Upper West Side all the way down to Wall Street, and I envisioned what was possible. And then I looked to my right and I saw Harlem all the way up to Fordham Road in the Bronx, and I got really clear on my foundation and the legacy and history that I was a part of. And so you couldn't tell me that I wasn't ready to take on the world. After all, I was a Columbia graduate. It meant something. right? But little did I know that despite doing all the right things, despite my pedigree, I too did not have insight into the hidden rules of the workplace. And so in my first job, I was a rising star within a management training program at one of New York's largest healthcare companies, and I was introduced to the newest member of the C-suite. She was incredibly impressive, and I think she was hoping to be impressed by me too. And so she stood before me, ready to introduce herself, and I was sitting in a chair. I sort of reclined and leaned back a little and very politely looked up and extended my hand and introduced myself to her. And in that moment, I knew something wasn't right. But I couldn't place it because I didn't have a mentor coach that could have told me that the right way to introduce myself confidently was to stand up, to acknowledge the person that had made the effort to introduce themselves to me. Had I had a mentor coach, I might have avoided a full year of the consequential silent treatment that I received at the hands of this executive. I lacked the guidebook into the cultural norms of the business, and I didn't have the social capital that came with access to a mentor network. And I certainly lacked a blueprint for my success, let alone perspective for what it would later mean to become an organizational leader and CEO. And after leading youth organizations for the larger part of my career, 30 years later, I am still learning and appreciating the value of sponsorship, particularly in spaces where even I still cannot access. And so at its core, that is what I'm learning to be the fulfillment of ANY's promise to first-generation college students. You know, Michelangelo is said to have finished painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel when he was 37 years old. And 50 years later, at 87, was heard to have said he was still learning. Well, as a lifelong learner myself, in this particular moment, I too am still learning. And I'm learning that 96% of ANY fellows graduate from a four-year institution within 6 years, as compared to the national average of 27%. I am learning that 82% of ANY alumni secure employment within 6 months of graduation, earning on average salaries of $70,000. Right? I am learning that in our first Gen U digital platform, 98% of students are more equipped to submit high-quality applications for jobs and much more prepared to interview for them. I am learning that 85% of students who participate in our first Gen U platform are more connected to a network of professionals. And while I am learning, here's what I do know. I know that over 15 years ago, our founder launched a movement through which ANY has consistently delivered on the promise of first-generation college students. And what I also know is that now, ANY is at an inflection point that coincides with the timing of some of the biggest, most significant questions that Americans are asking ourselves. Questions like, what will the future of work look like? And how do we continue responding to the increasingly complex challenges faced by our workforce and by our economy? And what I also know is that the power of relationships and connectedness furthers career readiness. And so with each passing day, I am fueled, I am excited to build a future that exponentially increases ANY's impact. Today, we serve about 400 ANY fellows in our core programs. But what if we could increase it by sixfold to serve 2,500 annually? That's doable. Right? Our first Gen U platform serves 4,000 students annually. But what if we were to triple it and serve 12,000 students annually? Right? Today, we have a footprint in Chicago, right here in New York City, in New Jersey, and we're absolutely committed to reigniting our efforts in California. But what if we had a footprint not across 4, but across 14 cities across the country, right? I want you to think about those cities because I'm thinking about them too, same ones you're thinking about. We're gonna go there. What if we could create industry tracks like the ones that we're currently exploring in investment banking with Apollo Global Management, right? What if we could do that? I shared with you at the beginning of my remarks that I too was a first-gen college graduate, and I'm not so different from other ANY fellows, and yet my success cannot be an exception. It has to be the expectation for all fellows at ANY today, for the students on First Gen U's platform, and for all of the participants that we have yet to serve, because America needs you, needs you. Right? We know that America needs ANY to buttress the talents of first-generation college students so that they can achieve the realization of their dreams. America needs ANY to partner with colleges and universities to support the learning, the development, the preparedness of first-generation college students. America needs ANY to work with local and federal government by offering effective, practical policy solutions that work to strengthen our workforce. America needs ANY to engage with corporate anchors who are ready to reinvest in their communities and are seeking talent pipeline solutions, all of which assure a profitable ROI that shapes the American workforce. America needs ANY to harness and leverage the force of the philanthropic community that is ready to make a lasting difference. What I do know is that ANY needs each and every one of you in this room tonight. And if what I've said resonates for you, I want to invite you to envision the very future that we are creating for America Needs You. And if you do, then please hear this. America needs you to stay with us on this journey as we build an ecosystem that centers the talents and the motivations of first-gen college students as a core component for our present and future workforce. America needs all of us. America needs you. Thank you.